Get ready. Get set. And hold on. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Good morning, and welcome to the Mouth of Matuszak show for this Thursday, August 28th, 2014. And I'm your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and you've got me for the better part of the next hour, whether you're listening to this live or through the podcast, which is posted later. Now, if you listen to the podcast, you can't exactly call into the show, but you can leave comments either in the YouTube channel or on the blog site, and you leave your comments. I will get back to you either on the air or we can, or I will leave comments back to you on the sites, one way or the other, if you have questions or comments. Now, sometimes comments don't necessarily require a response. You guys understand that, right? You know, calling me a dumb poo-poo head doesn't really require a response. It just requires me to look and point at you and say, well, it'd be nice if they actually cited facts and said where I was wrong and help me to get better and get me better information and expand my my knowledge base and my data set. But hey, some people don't think that far ahead. But anyway, for those of you who want to call into the show, if you're listening to the podcast, you just have to tune in between 8 and 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, and that's 8 and 9 Central Time. Yes, we're over in flyover country, people. I'm in this little insignificant speck of dust that's barely large enough to be considered a state that most people don't even think should even be paid any attention to. And, of course, I'm speaking of Texas, the state that used to be its own country. Yes. So, go ahead and listen in at that time if you can. And you can call in and get on the air and exchange your views and let your voice be heard. And that's, of course, if you're listening live now, you can call in. Or if you're listening to podcasts, just tune in tomorrow or any Monday through Friday between 8 and 9. But you have to call in, folks. You have to dial a little number. And the number is, write it down, folks, 520-226-8567. Got it? Great, good. Week's been going pretty good so far. We've had a little bit of serious news. We have had a little bit of news that we can go, what the hey, and kind of poke some fun at. And we've had some good news and had some not so good news. It's a typical week. Looking around things, today is showing some things that could develop into some larger things, but I'm going to have to do some digging and some investigating. I'm not just going to shoot my mouth off because I have little tidbits here that may or may not prove to be true. So I do dig around a little bit, folks, before I flap my gums, just to let you know. So we'll pull out those strings and see what comes out of them, and see if it gives me anything worthy of talking about. And of course, if I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, I'm probably going to write about it today over at either BuzzPo or one of the other places where I submit articles. But without further ado, I know you all been waiting for this. This is the highlight of the show. You all sit back and wait for this little part. So sit back. Well, don't sit back. Get on your feet. Get energized and join in with the powdered zombies, Mr. America.
Mr. America, look what you've done. Yeah, look looking at the country is not what I intended. Gotta start to make a change before the never-ending story of a failed nation, one straight out of luck. Like a million Tyler Perry movies. Yes, all your little have life, you're still selfish and want more voting in your self-interest. Now instead of the core principles that made this country both honest and true. Free to speak, worship, pursuit of your happiness too. With all the money you fly, you're gonna be needing a big freeze. Hate the size of the Fed like Jesus hated the fig tree. As the spending goes up, you gotta borrow some more. Borrowing from the Chinese like, oh my lord. Instead you just tax more, you're increasing the size of the federal government. Yeah, the Georgia surprise, you'll be done like Detroit. Man, no, you ain't coming back. Forget it, I'm out, I'm muzzle loading my
Mr. America, look what you've done. You trade your liberty and sovereignty for lies and promises. Mr. America, don't you run away. You pick up pieces up and face the problems, you'll be great again. I got tired of rolling over in my grave every day, making a monarchy of my beloved US of A. Your little glitches need reminding of what we were before, and the sits that led us up to revolutionary war. High taxes to the throne without a voice of our own. Rule top down from the crime we wanted left alone. Oh, y'all so soft, you're taking it year after year. We were fighting red coats while we're brewing our beer. Now I'm drinking, spitting ciphers through a grill made of wood. That's how it all went down in G-Dub's neighborhood. Packing cabin balls like powder hammers with cock, lock, click, clack. The loss of backs like the attack. The chicken littles who don't know me, listen, don't let it twist. We kick the A's of the B's for much less than this. So don't deny the historical climbing out of the mud. Follow me, believe these creed, plant the seeds and be free. America, look what you've done. You trade your liberty and sovereignty for lies and promises. Mr. America, don't you run away. You pick up pieces up and face the problems, you'll be great again.
On the woman at 85 when it's really at 12. Hear me, classes in session, you can't be saved by the bell. What happens when you keep printing more dough? Both parties have gone green like their name was Al Gore. Yeah, but right now you're high. Hey, ain't you big hitter? But now I'm back from the dead. I'm bringing back all my niggas. Man, you think I say that? What's wrong with you? I'm just talking about my show back then. I rock with my shoe. But let's go back to the first point I was trying to make. The degradation of our freedoms and a country at stake. The government's getting grand while private sector grows smaller. Pour one out for your homies, cause here comes the cold water. Unemployment still rising, our debt's growing still. The only change you're gonna get is being left with the bill.
Mr. America, look what you've done. You trade your liberty and sovereignty for lies and promises. Mr. America, don't you run away. You pick up pieces up and face the problems, you'll be great again. Mr. America, whoa, whoa. Mr. America, whoa, whoa.
You don't have a right to know everything in a separation of powers government, my friend. That is the difference between a parliamentary government and a separation of powers government.
Well, that was two countries heard from. First, of course, we heard from Powdered Zombies, which, of course, is the duo, plus, of course, a few friends, but the duo of comedian Steven Crowder and good old music producer and, well, all-around recording aficionado Chris Lash got together and did up that song along with a great video. been kicking around for a while. But after them, we heard Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton, who is becoming quite famous on this show for that quote. But let's cast a little sunlight on what the government's doing. First, we have segments of the government who think they have the right to know everything we're doing. We, the private citizens of the United States, they think they have the right to invade our privacy because they are the government. Yeah. Sorry, folks. Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, G-Man. It don't work that way. But we're also finding out that for months and months, they lied to us about the backing up of those Lois Lerner emails and other data coming out of the IRS. They were investigating into things that maybe they shouldn't have been, and targeting and all that other fun stuff. So it's about to break wide open because they had some witnesses go before Darrell Issa and company and the Congressional Oversight Committee who flat out said, hey, you're being lied to. And so the probe will now go deeper into that abyss known as the lying sacks in the IRS. Isn't that great info, folks? Don't you just love that the government thinks that they can look deeper and deeper and deeper into your private life? They got your private information whenever the heck they feel like it. But as soon as you ask them, the public entities, for some transparency, they go and cover everything up and tell you, no, you can't see that. Oh, we're sorry. We accidentally destroyed those hard drives. And we're too dumb to back stuff up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah. Well, let's look the other way again. I don't mean like cast our eyes aside and pay no attention to. I said let's look at how things are going in the other direction. I mean, we're asking for the info for the IRS. Well, right now, the FDA is telling you that if the TSA asks you about prescription medications you're on, you have to tell them and show them and pull them out of your baggage. In fact, you should just do so ahead of time and tell them all about the prescription medications you're on. Dear FDA and TSA, a little lesson for y'all. There's a law, a federal law, called the HIPAA, which says you ain't allowed to know my personal medical information unless I sign a document releasing that information and allowing you to know. You can't talk about it. You can't ask my doctor about it. You can't go looking at my prescription medication and trying to figure out what medical issues I may or may not have. It's none of your business! But if you go over to the TSA site, and I'm going to give you, if you guys go over to Grabien.com, that's GRABIEN.com, or you can go look at the Drudge Report because it's linked there as well. But it's actually, there's actually 2 articles linked there, well, 3 articles linked there. There's a video file, an audio file, and then an actual written article. But the FDA is, they have it posted as well as the TSA, and they say that this is partially in cooperation with the DEA, because the TSA says that they need to know about your medication. That somehow these formerly private security people who were then unionized and federalized and put under the Department of Homeland Security, these people that have been proven, of course not all, but there's enough bad apples out there that have gone through people's stuff, handled people's personal items and made fun of it, taken pictures of it, stolen smartphones and iPads and computers and cameras and brought them home and been caught. I mean, heck, Neil Bortz, former, now retired, radio personality, watched them steal his camera. Sat there and screamed and yelled about it, and they just looked at him like he had appendages growing out of his forehead that shouldn't have been there, and ignored him. And one of the TSA people took his camera, put it in his own personal backpack, and brought it home. None of the other TSA people did a dang thing about it. And they're supposed to be law enforcement, and they're stealing from people as they're going through the screening lines. Yeah, last thing I want to do is, if I were prescribed some kind of hardcore pain medication, which I'm not, but if I were, and I needed those, and I was bringing them with me onto a plane, last thing I would want is some TSA thug whack job decide to pocket my medication, which I would need, obviously, because otherwise I'd be prescribed it, and put it in their pocket, and then turn around and sell it on the street. And if you think it doesn't happen, folks, VA pharmacy workers have stolen those type of medications from patients to sell on the street. You're going to try to tell me that the also corrupt TSA people aren't going to do the same thing? Yeah, they will. Okay, guys, I said this before. It's not all the TSA workers. It's maybe 10%. Maybe even less than 10%. Maybe it's 2%, 1%. Doesn't matter. 1%, one bad apple ruins the whole bunch, can ruin the whole bunch. One moldy muffin can ruin the whole dozen. One bad TSA agent in any airport, in any screening line, screws it up for everybody. So unless they start policing themselves and arresting those who are corrupt and doing bad, if they're not, then they're complicit. Because there's no such thing as complacency in those operations. They're complicit. They're intentionally ignoring it, which makes them an accomplice to the crimes. So if they're not watching their buddies, make sure they're not stealing and doing that stuff, they're just part of the crimes. And that barely touches the iceberg when you're talking about them wanting to know all your personal information. How are you going to prove to me that the person asking for my medical history as I go through the line at the airport to go and get on board my flight isn't also stealing people's identities on the side? What kind of assurances can you give to me? What kind of bonding do they take? I mean, when they're stealing iPads and people have the apps on there so you can check the GPS to see where your iPad is, and they're using that and reporting it to the police, and where do the police go? To a TSA agent's house and find the iPad in question there and their nephew playing with it because they just gave it to their nephew as a birthday present after stealing it from a passenger. You know, and it's happened, folks. Go ahead and do a Google search for it. It's happened more than once. In fact, there was a married couple who both worked for the TSA who were tag teaming it and covering each other. And that was a year or two ago. So if I can't trust them to keep their paws off my electronic devices, how can I trust them not to steal my personal information and steal my identity or misuse my medical information for other nefarious reasons? I can't. And they work for the government, folks. TSA is no longer private security. They are now government. So they already think that they're better than you because they couldn't make it in the private sector doing private sector work, busting their butt in a free enterprise system. They had to go work for Uncle Sugar. Of course, that's said by the retired U.S. soldier. But I didn't work for Uncle Sugar, folks. I worked for you and my family and anybody else who needed protection of me to do that job. Anyway, there's a couple of things about what the government thinks they have a right to know about you, but tells you, or at least Eleanor Norton tells you that you don't have a right to know about them and what they're doing. Gee, can't wait for Congress to get back in session, folks. Just couple more weeks here. So as soon as they're back in session, have lots and lots more to talk about people who are supposed to be in charge and supposed to be our employees